Hi, I hope you all have enjoyed your day so far. Hi. I was hoping this would be a more interactive venue, but I'm realizing with the mics it's not going to be as interactive as I hoped, so I'm mentally resetting myself and stalling. So I think a number of you have probably 4 or 5 pages of notes. I've been kind of looking around the room. There's a lot of Evernotes and note stocks on things to add and things to go back to your offices and tests and ways to work with your dev team to optimize your funnel. The takeaway and my goal for this talk is that you write down nothing. And by that, I mean all of my ideas and all of our tests and everything we've learned at HotelTonight is around taking away. And by that, it's about not adding more things. It's about what you can remove, all the different steps and pieces you can get out of the user's way. So rather than thinking of things you can add, my challenge to you is to write down 5 things that you're going to go home and or go back to your work and delete the code from. So with that, okay, there we go. That's me. Call me maybe. That's HotelTonight. Okay, so we are the tool for mobile last-minute booking. A number of you didn't raise your hands, so let me give you a little bit of background on HotelTonight and what our story is. We were founded about 5.5 years ago, inspired by this real last-minute friction of booking a hotel room. You'll remember 5 years ago, or maybe you don't, but this was just when the iPhone had come out. Things like Uber were still kind of scary and a crazy idea. And if you wanted to book a hotel room at the very last minute, you had to open your laptop, because there were no hotel apps. And you opened your laptop and you went through the sign-up funnel, and it was incredibly onerous. And if you were in a situation where, say you're out with your friends, you're having a great time, it's a ton of fun, you don't want to catch the Caltrain back to San Mateo, you just kind of want to live in the moment and take advantage of it, that was a huge block. Or you're at a sales meeting and all of a sudden sales meeting becomes a dinner, you're not going to have time to get home, or whatever your situation is. Or maybe it's date night and you're actually having a great time and you just want to keep it going. It's a total buzzkill to get out your laptop. So this was what we started on the user side. But what's interesting about HotelTonight is the pain is actually as large, if not larger, for the hotels. So as the days go on, you'll understand the hotels have to yield manage. You've seen how prices fluctuate going up to your date of check-in. Interesting facts about the hotel industry. The average occupancy in the US, it varies a little bit city to city, is about 65% on any given night. That means 35% of the hotel rooms in San Francisco will sit empty tonight. The cost of turning that hotel room, the highest I've heard at the highest 5-star 4-diamond hotel I know of is $35. So anything over $35 to sell that room is profit to the hotel on an incremental room night. So here we have people who are trying to book hotel rooms, having a great date night with a laptop. And here we have revenue managers who are trying to clear out a hotel room. So that's how HotelTonight was formed. Our goal is to be the on-demand solution for you as users to be able to book a hotel room in the last minute, and for our hotels to be able to get on-demand guests to come in and fill up their rooms and get their occupancy and revenue numbers up. So we're now up to 20 million downloads. Those are some of our vanity metrics. We are mobile only, I should tell you, which means we have no website where you can transact. Our desktop website, we do have a mobile website. I'm happy to talk about that, but it's not specifically in this presentation. So what have we learned along the way as we've turned HotelTonight into a conversion machine, which I think is probably the most flattering title I've ever been given, so thank you, whoever I can give credit to for that. We do pride ourselves on our product, but we really try to think about conversion as just making steps forward every day. So one of the changes we made, for those of you who have not met HotelTonight before, is you can now book up to 7 days. So today's Monday. You can book a stay for tonight or any night starting between now and Sunday evening. When we first started, we were actually New York, LA, and San Francisco only. And we had a 12 noon market open. So this was 4 or 5 years ago. You would open the app anytime before noon local time, and it would say, hey there, early bird. You're too early for the sale. And then at noon, you would see the deals come up, and you'd see what was on sale for that day. Now, people always said, oh, that's so cool, that's so gamey, what a great idea, it feels like a flash sale. The reality was there was no infrastructure, we only had people, the people were handpicking the deals, and the reason it opened at noon is because the person who managed New York City lived in San Francisco, which meant it was 9 a.m. here, so in order to get it all loaded in time for noon in New York, we had to do 12 noon. So it seemed smarter than it was. I'm sure we'll rewrite history and tell a different version of that later. But that was our 12 noon market time. About 3 years ago, we changed to a 9 a.m. market time. And then about 2.5 years ago, or maybe it's been 3 years now, we changed to 7 days. So you can see we've kind of grown our user base. And with 7 days of advanced booking, it's no longer this like keep the party going vibe. We can now accommodate you if you today want to book for a weekend getaway. You decide, let's go to Vegas, let's go to LA. The weather's going to be lovely. I want to see the fall foliage. Let me fly to New York. These are all use cases we can adopt, and our user base continues to grow and grow and grow. So we have a limited number of slots, and we're mobile. We only show 15 hotel deals. We do that so that the hotels actually have a reason to compete and give us a best price. And so we don't show all the inventory we have as a way of encouraging competition amongst the hotel revenue managers to actually give us great deals. But if we have all these use cases, clearly conversion and things are going to improve if we add more choice, right? Well, punchline number one, longer lists don't convert. This is our conversion rate, masked out, they're not all zeros, and based on the number of slots we show. And you can see we kind of flatline actually around 10, 11, 12. Now there's a good question as to why 10, 11, 12 instead of 15. I don't know, it's kind of one of those legacy things. We didn't move off of 15, but we took the list all the way out to 25 and we saw a 6% decrease in conversion. So this is one of those times where we realized less is more. By giving the users less choice, by really focusing, which I think is what we've heard at a number of presentations, we've been able to actually drive up conversion or prevent conversion decreases that actually would have happened with this change. Second test. So I mentioned we started 5 years ago. When you were building an app 5 years ago, it was very common to have an account. And in fact, that's probably still common in many places. You know, you can think of the mobile leaders, whether it's Uber and Lyft or things like Tinder or any sort of commerce site, you generally have to create an account. So this was our flow. You would go through and you'd see a hotel, you'd choose your hotel, you'd then create an account. It's not hard. We took out more fields than you can imagine. Some of our competitors want your home address, they want to know if you're traveling for business or pleasure, they want to know your dog's first name. There's a million fields in there. We just want first, last, email, password. That's it. It's not a lot. The promo code's optional. How hard could it be? How frictionful could this be? Well, judging by the fact that it's in this presentation, you probably know the punchline. We took out that entire screen and just worked it into our order summary, so it really just looks like you're giving this information to the hotel. This is just saying who's going to stay in the room, first name and last name, email address to where we can send the receipt. We even removed the password field. Happy to talk about that. That was a very interesting project where we've eliminated password and we now have the reset link. That's been huge and wonderful for our users, but has also helped with pushing people through the funnel. So by eliminating the screen, we actually saw a 15% increase in conversion. I mean, that's crazy when you think about it. We're asking for the same amount of information, but we're just displaying it in a slightly different way. Third test. So we obsess over our funnel, and we obsess over how fast it is to purchase a hotel room. If you've read our press releases or some of our marketing materials, you probably know we love to talk about 3 taps and a swipe. You can book a hotel room in under 10 seconds. We do benchmark ourselves every 6 months. I actually sit down with all of our competitor apps and benchmark how many times it takes, how many seconds and taps it is for me to book on HotelTonight versus our peers. It's probably my least favorite afternoon of the year, but it gets done. And so we have honed this funnel all the way down. The first screen is our list of hotels. The second screen is actually the details about that hotel. What's the bar name? How many rooms does it have? What's the Wi-Fi? The third page is that order summary where I showed you earlier. And then the fourth page is our confirmation page where we really want to validate that you're ready to purchase. So if many of you are in commerce apps, you'll know that there are a million different payment types, right? We've all been approached by PayPal, and then they want you to integrate Venmo, and then there's Android Pay, formerly known as Google Wallet, and then there's Apple Pay, and there's this Pay, and then if you're international, there's like a million other choices. And so adding more payment options is just, from a product person, it's like my nightmare. It's just so much work. And we have a really elegant flow. Adding more choices here isn't going to be helpful. So when we were approached about Apple Pay, I was a little skeptical, to say the least. But we are native mobile. We do think it's really important to take advantage of all the different mobile features that are out there and be heavily integrated with the OS. So we launched Apple Pay. And the punchline is that instead of 3 taps and a swipe, 2 taps and a thumbprint is actually meaningfully better. It's 26% better. We were shocked by this result, particularly when you think you already have a funnel that is super smooth and super fast and so much better than your competitors. You can always improve. Again, punchline is less is more. The more you can take out, the more effective you'll be in getting your users to what they want to do, which is get to a hotel room. No one wants to buy a hotel room. They just want to experience a hotel room. So get out of their way. Next test. So for those of users who didn't want to use Apple Pay, or you'll probably notice this is one of our Android screenshots, we had a very simple flow in which you could enter your information for credit card. Again, we're asking for less information than anyone else out there. Our goal is to only ask what's required. In this field, you add your credit card number, and then what would expand would be just the information we need, your expiration date, your CVV number, and your zip code. This isn't hard. It's what you're asked in every checkout flow. It's not complicated. It's a very simple experience. So we decided to run a test with a separate flow and a separate set of features where we divided out asking for payment method, and then we just exposed all the fields. So really, there's no meaningful change in this. It's just that we make all the fields available, and it's no longer animated. It's super simple stuff, but it was a 5% increase in completion rates, just by telling the user and preparing the user for everything you needed. Now, as someone who's passionate about mobile and particularly passionate about design and passionate about mobile design, which means I obsess over the rounded corners and the animations and all the little delightful touches that you can put into an app, this is a time where a little bit of me died. But by removing the beautiful animation and just explaining to the users what you needed from them and when, we were able to actually drive better conversion. They just understood what we were asking of them and what they needed to do to get through the funnel. So my last hypothesis, our last test on this, is the last step of our funnel. So I breezed through a couple screens ago on this H bed. If you've never purchased on HotelTonight, the last step is a confirmation step. It's this purple H where you swipe your finger down, over, down. It's kind of our way of doing a signature. We lose a not small but confidential % of users on this page. So this means we have people who have chosen a hotel. That was subtle. You think you got that though. You've chosen a hotel. You've picked out like, oh, this is the perfect one for me. I can envision my whole night stay here. It's going to be amazing. I've given you my name, my payment information, and all you need to do is confirm, and we lose a % of users. Now, the obvious answer is, well, then get rid of this page, Amanda. That's a stupid page. But we have to have this because there were a number of users who call in, and there are still a number of users who call in and say, oh shit, I didn't realize how easy it was. I just paid $300 for a hotel room, and I didn't mean to do that. I thought there was a next step. Now, they may not be always telling the truth. A lot of them blame their children. My kid was playing with my phone, and all of a sudden I have a $300 hotel room. I don't know. Who am I to judge? So we needed some sort of step. We do need a confirmation step. And a fun story about this, the actual spec requested that you type in your initials. So we were asking you to type in your first and last initial as a way of signing it. When our developers got the spec, they said, that's dumb. We're not building that. And one of them had the cool idea to say, why don't we make it more of like a signature, and you'll just swipe the H. So we've loved this, and this has been really part of our HotelTonight experience for years. But again, we're losing this confidential but not small percentage of users on this page. So we ran a test where we put a button here instead. And again, the designer in me died because it was taking a beautiful design element and just replacing it with a button, but it had to be done. And just to tell you that you can't remove everything, and I am telling you the truth, there was no change to conversion. So the bottom line on that one is that we were losing users because they really weren't confirming to book. They weren't totally sure they wanted to. That was the point where they've read some terms or they had seen something come along and they weren't ready to make a purchase. So I'm sad to lose them, but at least I know I'm not losing them because of confusion. So the moral of the story, whoa, that went way too fast. Woo. Is less is more. So please, I challenge you all not to write down what you can add or what you can change in your product, but write down what you can actually remove and completely strip out and get out of the way. Because sometimes the best way to get conversion is to just eliminate. So thank you very much for humoring me this afternoon, and I will happily take any questions.
I'm a user of HotelTonight. It's a great app. I was curious, you guys reinvented the categories for the hotel, and it's a little confusing. First of all, with the H, I'm guilty of trying to figure that out myself in the beginning. But as far as the categories of the hotel, moving away from the traditional star system and going to the hip, basic, luxe, and it's hard to find on the app a place where it describes what each category is. And I'm curious if you've done any testing regarding that.
Yeah, so the question, for those of you who are not HotelTonight users, oh, I lost my slides. At least I think I did. Yeah, so for those of you who are not HotelTonight users, we have roughly 5 categories of the hotels rather than having a 1-star, 2-star, 3-star system. We do a luxe category, which is kind of your luxury high-end experience. We do a hip, which is more of a, kind of a cool vibe, solid basic. There's different categories, but the intent is to give users the choice of what type of vibe they want to stay. The reason we do that is because the star ratings are actually meaningless, and people make them up. I don't know if you've stayed at a 7 or 8-star hotel in Dubai. They exist, but they literally are all made up. So, that's a bad example because they're all luxes. But same screen. What we do know, some users get confused by it and try to understand the distinctions. What we've had trouble with is figuring out where to display that information in a way that doesn't turn this screen into a used car lot. Like with all the flash and the colory signs. I think there are things we can do in the hotel details page to figure out a better way to articulate what that is and why we've given that hotel that category. In user testing, we do hear some confusion, so it's definitely something we need to work on.
We have a question over here. Let me give you mine.
Thank you. This is more of a curiosity, and it's not total mobile, but I'm a heavy user. I love it. And there was this one time that I got to a hotel. It was a bit before 3 p.m. and they said, we're waiting for HotelTonight to fax in your reservation. So I said, okay, so they fax in the reservations. And I said, there's a request from the hotel. It wasn't this hotel. Is there a request of this hotel, or it's HotelTonight that does it? And I don't know if the lady knew it or not, but she said, no, this is HotelTonight system. They fax all the stuff. That's how they do it. I don't know if it's true or not, but I was wondering.
Oh, Starwood. So much to say.
We just heard everything about the mobile optimization part, but if this is true, how do you optimize for the other half that you don't have full control and you depend on older systems and stuff like that?
Yeah, so that is hard. So we are part of a larger ecosystem. The Westin is a Starwood property. Starwood, like all great large corporations, have a lot of intricate systems that have blackout windows and limited connectivity and on-prem, off-prem stuff. We struggle with that. So we have an initiative we're currently working on in terms of figuring out ways to connect with the different hotel systems. I think our challenge is how we can make it a very smooth user experience for the revenue manager to load inventory and load prices, to make sure that reservation gets delivered, but doesn't completely cut that revenue manager out of our system and our tools. Because at the end of the day, the reason we get the differentiated prices is because we offer differentiated pricing schemes. And so finding ways to get those pricing schemes adopted by the connected hotels, it's hard. I'm embarrassed by how many hotels need faxes from us. And I've definitely, I mean, as a user, you know, I'll go to a hotel and they'll be like, we don't have anything for Amanda Richardson. We have something for Ananda Richardson. You're like, it's probably me. You probably mistyped it. I gotcha. So, I mean, and this is part of the ecosystem that we all struggle with. And I think one of the things we also do on the hotel side is looking at how many clicks it takes to enter the information, what the engagement level is there, and by engagement, I mean how quickly you can enter the information and get out. Time on page is like my biggest nightmare. So figuring out how we can actually connect all those pipes in this very wonky hotel world is a big challenge. Yeah, systems integrators, opportunity.
We have a question over one in the back and then right here.
Yeah, just going back to the iOS Apple Pay lift that you talked about, 26%. Where was that? Was that like in the sign-up flow when people are putting in their credit card information, or was that kind of where was that 26%?
So that was actually in checkout. So we see, we don't ask you for payment information until you're actually checking out. And so that was like for like users on both OS version, phone type. Chris is here, he's probably gonna correct me. OS version, phone type, and whether we prompted you to check out, I think it was whether we prompted you to enter a credit card or use Apple Pay, and that was the 26%.
Hey, great presentation. So my question is, do you essentially like have a backlog of, hey, here are the things that I'm going to remove, and how often do you go back and kind of check, and yeah, what's the process of having that list, in terms of executing it?
Well, probably any product person out there will laugh at their list. We all have long lists, Google Docs, Pipeline Docs, this doc, that doc. So we concentrate initiatives in certain areas, and so there are certain times where we're really trying to look to optimize different parts of the funnel. These particular results came out of concentrated efforts on improving the checkout flows and payments methodology when we wanted to do those. I mean, the answer is we have a long list. We try to allocate every portion of, or portions of our work to both maintenance and improvements, not just big new feature releases. Sometimes little ideas end up as big feature releases, but we try to push them through always. I think we make our decisions based on what we think will have the biggest impact on getting more bookers. And then we can shift that metric depending on what the business needs. Right now we're really focusing on bookers. As usual, and so that's that's how we prioritize and keep our lists. I'm a big believer if something doesn't get asked for 3 times, it's not really a problem. But if it's asked for 3 times, we should probably look to figure out how to prioritize it.
We have one question over here.
How much of your results are you guys testing with geo-based targeting versus sponsored advertisers or anything else like that? For instance, I'm walking out of a nightclub in Vegas at 2 in the morning, I'm standing at the Cosmopolitan. Is the Cosmo going to come up first, or is the Venetian going to come up?
So we don't do sponsored placement. We give each of our hotels' prices a deal score. So we basically have an algorithm which considers really 3 variables. 1, user feedback, so what's conversion and what are the ratings. 2, deal quality, so what's that price? If the Cosmo's $300 and the Venetian's $125, we should probably show the Venetian even though it's a 10-minute walk. Whereas maybe the break-even between those distances is $50, for instance. So we look at that, and then we want to make sure that we're bringing enough variety to our user base. So we would never want you to see all luxes or all basics to the category question earlier. We want to make sure there's a diversity of both hotel type as well as neighborhood location. Maybe you want to get off the strip. So each hotel has a score, and that's how we order them. I will say one of the other biggest user complaints we have is around the ordering and how we can make that clear. So look for an app near you for some testing that we're trying to figure out how we can better communicate how we rank our hotels and why we rank them, and why it's a benefit to you to pick the first one.
One question over here.
Hi. So my question to you is, you say less is more. What if you're doing testing, like say the button for confirm and the swiping of the H, if it comes out neutral or there's just nothing significant, how do you decide what to keep or what you want?
Yeah, so I think someone mentioned earlier, I think it was Dow Jones was talking about having kind of the scorecard of what a good results can be. And I think that's a little bit at the discretion of what the goal or what the business or what the product needs at the time. For us, it's important enough to have a distinct experience that we prioritize that over the button. Now we know for sure that it's not a usability issue. It may be just a user doesn't want to buy at that moment issue. And I think that just depends on what the organization needs, right? I mean, I think if we had more time, we could test a third version of that and see if there's another better way to improve it. We removed it for the Apple Pay experience, and so that obviously saw a conversion lift. I think the answer is it depends, which is a terrible answer, but it's a matter of like what you really want to accomplish with the product and at that point in the moment.
Any last question? A couple more.
Standing between you guys and ice cream, this is precarious.
I want to thank you for the session. This is very informative. One question on, I think, something that you mentioned during the session was